Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 8 and Episode 4 as we kick off another great tale of Jesus and his 21 parables. Before we kick off, I always have to give credit to my publishing company, Bebop Publishing Group, for all their work they've done on all the novels over the years that I've written. Today, one of the books that I'm going to show you is this one here. It's called Throwback. Terror Beneath the Waves. This book has been in works for 10 years and just came out this year. My oldest brother, Daryl, I have tried to help him. This is his one and only book. Write this book for the last 10 years. And in those 10 years, his grammar was atrocious, you might say. And I worked with him, and I worked with him, and I worked with him. So for 10 years, I sent him back corrected copies and sent him back more corrected copies. But his book got pretty large. It's over 700 pages. And I said, Daryl, you need to take that book. You need to cut it in half and make 2 books in a series. He never did. And he never finished it. And when I say that, my brother went up to heaven. He's up with Jesus right now this year, around July 26th or 27th. And so I took it upon myself for 2023 to finish his novel. And I did. And it's called Throwback. And his pen name was Jeremiah Sherman. You'll find it on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, wherever. But what's interesting is Jeremiah was one of his basset hounds. And Sherman was another. So that's how he came up with his pen name. So if you're in bookstores, you're looking for an exciting suspense thriller, look for Throwback by Jeremiah Sherman. So let's kick off Episode 4, the parable of the lost sheep. Matthew 18, verses 12 through 14. Howdy there, friends and neighbors. It's your good old pal, Sidney St. James, coming at you from the heart of Georgetown, Texas. Welcome back to Season 8 of our show, where we'll spin tales that'll stick to your ribs like good barbecue from my Uncle Willie in downtown Columbus, Texas. We're going to chew up on a story that Jesus told called the parable of the lost sheep. So right here, I want to tell you a little bit that if you're just now catching my episodes on this episode, this whole 21 parables is told from the standpoint of Jesus walking on the sidewalks downtown square in Georgetown. So how would he tell his parable in 2023 like maybe he would have told his parable in 100 BC? I don't know. But anyhow, that's what this parable is. It's a modern day, contemporary story of a parable. And maybe grab a biscuit while you're waiting on it or two, and let's get to it, okay? Picture this. There was a shepherd, and this shepherd had 100 sheep grazing on the rolling hills just outside of Georgetown, where the grass is as green as a gourd, and the sky as big as God's imagination. But lo and behold, one little bitty sheep, let's call him Wooly, decided to go on an adventure, wandering off from the flock. Now, this shepherd, he counted his sheep every night, just like my Aunt Mabel counts her porcelain chickens. He realizes, quick as a hiccup, that Wooly's gone missing, despite having 99 other sheep safe and sound. Now, this shepherd's heart is heavy for that one lost sheep. The shepherd, putting on his hat and grabbing his staff, says, well, he says it to himself, I'm going to find that little rascal, even if I have to search high and low through thicket and thorn. And off he goes, calling out for Wooly, his voice carrying on the wind like a lonesome coyote. Meanwhile, Wooly's out there, shaking like a leaf in a windstorm, thinking, well, I've really stepped in it this time. He's stuck in a bramble, bleeping for help, wishing he'd stuck closer to home. Now, back in town, folks start talking about the shepherd's relentless search. He's got 99 other sheep, and they say, why bother with just one? But the shepherd, he knows each of those sheep by name, just like we know our favorite pie flavors. Finally, after what feels like a Texas mile, the shepherd finds Wooly. He's all tangled up but safe. He scoops up that sheep, wearing a grin wider than the Rio Grande, and says, well, Wooly, let's get you back to where you belong. Wooly, feeling mighty relieved, thinks there's no place like home, especially when it's got a shepherd who cares. Now, back at the ranch, there's a shindig like no other. The shepherd's friends gather round, celebrating Wooly's return. There's music, dancing, and maybe even a few helpings of Mrs. Jenkins' famous peach cobbler. Now, friends, this story is about more than just a sheep and a shepherd. It's about how God, our heavenly shepherd, looks out one of us we might wander off the path, getting ourselves into all sorts of pickles, but he's always there, searching for us, ready to welcome us back with open arms. So, if you ever feel lost, remember the parable of the lost sheep. No matter how far you are or how far you roam, God's love will always bring you home. And remember, it's okay to be a woolly in a world full of sheep, because the shepherd's got a special place in his heart for each and every one of us. Well, that's a wrap on today's hee-haw of a tale. My dear listeners, this is your chuckling chum, Sidney St. James, reminding you that even if you wander off like Wooly the sheep, there's always a trail of breadcrumbs, or should I say cornbread crumbs, leading back home. Now, before y'all scamper off quicker than a jackrabbit in a jamboree, do old Sidney a favor, will you? Mosey on down to that like button right down there below. Remember, if you ever feel as lost as a goose in a snowstorm, just look for the light of your old pal Sidney's tails to guide you back to the flock. See you later, alligator. And as my daughter would say, after a while, crocodile. Don't stray too far from your radio. Tuned in to Cool 99 or your device, because we've got stories that'll tickle your funny bone and warm your heart, just waiting for your listening ears. Y'all take care now, and keep wandering with a sense of direction straight back to our show, of course. Until then, peace.